Good morning, Linda. How are you doing this morning?
Peaceful as always. How are you guys in the studio?
We are amazing. Hey?
Oh, we're doing well. We just missed you.
It's this whole hype in the country that is making us not meet physically and just continue with the virtual contact.
I'm really, really glad we are starting with things that are hyping up the country. World Press Freedom Day is around the corner. Namibia has asked to host it. Just over the weekend, we had some journalists be arrested. What does this mean for access to information and world press freedom?
I think it's important to remember that Namibia is ranked 23rd with press freedom in the world. That basically says about how independent a press is and how respected they are in terms of their role in shaping and framing the agenda in the country. It is important to remember that there are two levels of the question that you're asking me. You're dealing with a situation where arrests are taking place that can be linked to police brutality and journalism and so forth. You have the issue one side that speaks about access to information, which is a prominent issue that has been coming throughout the past 1 year and a half, or throughout the years, but most prominently advocacy work being done over the past 2 to 3 years to ensure that Namibians understand the importance to access to information. So in this regard, access to information for Namibians is very important. And the reason why we're having this conversation is because we want people to get to understand the importance of access to information. That is why we have these protests that are taking place, because people are asking for justice. And within the justice system, do people have access to information to ensure that they see justice being served? That can also be linked at that statutory level. And that is what people also want to ensure, that the access to services in this country is attained, and that can only happen when you have access to information legislation in this country. That is why there's a revolutionary generation taking place in changing things, because they want to be able to see services reach their realities and that their lives are able to change. And at the same time, that is not happening because there is no proper legislation that obligates state agencies to ensure any person that enters their office that they are respected and that they get the information that they need, and until the last resort of their issue is addressed. And that also links us back to a constitutional provision, which we are talking about, and that is Article 21, that guarantees freedom of expression, and of course, it gives the press and media also that advancement of freedom. That also links you and I around press freedom and engagement. That is why we have press freedom in the country, and we're able to talk about our issues publicly in the media, whether it's social media or traditional media. But also at the same time, it's important to remember that as much as Article 21 talks about freedom of expression, that links you that now that people know I have the right to express my opinion, people also at the same time say I have the right to information before I express my opinion, which means they make a conscious decision that is within the interest. And that is why the protests that are taking place here, the young people and everybody else, you and I, have taken that Article 21, personalized it to say, I am tired, I'm reading, I am seeing, I'm feeling it in my own house and walking out of my house. So why is it that there's a problem? So, and that's where people say, I have the right to understand, why is there a problem in this country? So the young people started connecting those two. And then they are linking the justice system and also the fact that they need protection, and the fact that services are not really duly and quality and competent enough delivered to ensure that communities know their rights, know where to attain a service and get support and help, but also know that there is a justice system in this country that is able. That there is a judicial system that advances a justice system that sees rights to be attained, and that people who are perpetrators and violators of other people's human rights, that they are held accountable, and that's where the problem is. Now, what you see. Okay, so what you see, just to wrap up that question of yours, what we see right now, access to information is a critical issue to change our lives in terms of ensuring that people can make decisions for the betterment of the future of all our lives in this country, and that's what we are not having.
All right, keeping that in mind in terms of Press Freedom Day and, freedom of expression. Due to the recent events, we have seen that at a COVID briefing earlier this year, the president attacked some of the journalists, and they basically had a misunderstanding. And we also see the back and forth between journalists and, of course, the press secretary to the presidency. Does really our ranking reflect the situation on the ground in terms of our press freedom?
There's always a big difference between human rights violations on the ground and what type of instrument is utilized to measure the status of press freedom in a country. And I think for me is journalist human rights violations has been happening in this country. One, a number of journalists sometimes have never reported when they're chased out of a press conference, for instance, unless another journalist is reporting on it or somebody else has recorded it. Sometimes they themselves don't know how to deal with this harassment and oppression that is coming. That's the first level. It is also important to understand that the fact that we are ranked at that level. For the past 2 years, we have seen press freedom being cramped in this country and also limited and selective. We cannot run away from it. The press secretary, in my opinion, is generally just arrogant in terms of not being able to explain to the journalists why a decision has been made. And then you have your boss, who is the president, questioning what is happening. Are the journalists toying against me? You see, there is a contradiction, which means there is power within the press agent, press guy, and then you have the president himself, who expects a particular protocol of how he operates, and also the framework and guidelines that they're having. So you have somebody who feels they have more power to control what the message should be, and it shouldn't be like that.
It shouldn't be like
that.
So hey.
There's no way I can say to you on this phone right now that journalists are operating in a form that they're able to advance with. They don't have access to information themselves also. So if they can't access information, do you think they will have full access to any press conference? It will still be controlled. So we need to revisit and reflect on that reality, because it also says a lot about how the state look at journalism in this country, or journalists in this country, and how selective they can. We know there's a big difference between state and private press agencies, but that should not stop this government from ensuring that all press agencies have access to equal information.
All right. With that regard, so there was a time I was sitting on the internet and I was just like, oh my goodness, is this appropriate information? Should people know such information? And I was like, but what if people didn't know such information that I consider inappropriate? Is there such a thing as inappropriate information or too much information?
There's never inappropriate information. There's never too much information, because you must remember where we're coming from as Namibians. We come from an education system where we had to share books, but now we have our own phones to be able to access. We have a whole encyclopedia accessible to us. And supplement this modern press agencies or mediums of communications like the radio and TV has become supplementary, because back in the days they were the main point of information, but also such information is selected in terms of how it gets out there. So now that we have access to online information, that initially says that there is great development where nobody can restrict you from looking and reading and consuming as much as you can. What the trick is there is about how you relay through that information across to others. Is it appropriate? Is it respectful? And can it enhance a dialogue for you to be able to get to the destination of your question? But if it is going to be, let me make an example. We were just talking earlier before break about the impact of the development. Let's look at these young people. They march with a boombox, and all the music that is playing, as radio hosts and presenters and amplifiers, what type of music is being played there. It's not appropriate for the discourse that they're saying. Because of the way they are singing it. So, and also because my kids, I have 17-year-olds who are dancing to this music, and I asked them that day, can you show me the lyrics of the song? And surely it is not appropriate. But and then the way it is relayed through, obviously when you listen to it, we don't care because it's boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
When you read it, you get to question, why is my kids having access to such information? And then at the end of the day, how they relate that message through is the pointing finger. So that is what I am saying, that there's never too much information. There's never too little information. Information should always be there because it's the only way that creates great consciousness for our people to know and understand how their country is governed, how they can govern their own lives and be able to live a better life for their children, and also appreciate their socioeconomic development over the years. Because the civil and political rights, we have them. There's no war. There's no, we know that they get violated. You just asked me now a very simple connection to press freedom. Is there a violation? Those are your civic and political rights, which is in your chapter 3. But now where we are in Namibia is your socioeconomic development. People said, I have now school, I have education, I want a job. I want to be able to live in this country and be independent and grow as a Namibian. But that's where the stumbling block is, because there are all other factors that are influencing, such as the lack of access to information. That's why we have all this corruption and all this information that is coming after it has happened.
Yes.
But if Namibians were engaged, we would have dealt with it as we are doing now, with shutting it all down because ons is more.
Yes, and tackling what you just said, which was very important. Unfortunately, we are running out of time and we have to round off the interview. I just want to, I just want you to continue on what you said, as, some information is delayed, especially in Namibia. I just feel like a lot of information is reported after the event has taken place, which is not supposed to be that way. We need more breaking news. We need more live news. We need more live information that is currently taking place and that is currently happening right now. And I feel like the now is missing in our access to information. How can we then bring the now into our access to information?
The now has started with this protest. More Namibians should get up and speak and ask for that now. The coordination must take place, because if we don't ask the now right now, you see the president's comment that this is a sign of hope. Yes, it's a progressive statement, but does that hope entail action for us to see it now? Because that's where the question lies for all of us in this country, because I feel there is a delay because people are selective on who can get information and who can sit around the table. Instead of bringing everybody around the table, who, let's say all the press agencies go to every government event in order for them to know what is happening. Go to any parastatal or NGO event in order to strike a balance, because it's not, the corruption just doesn't happen from the state side, even though they're the primary custodian of holding all agencies in this country accountable. The private sector has got its drama. The NGO and the community development sectors also have their dramas. So I think for us as access to information as Namibians, we need to be able to push for legislation so that we are able to hold all government agencies, but also get the intersectionalities of the access to information law, because it will also affect the Intelligence Act. It will affect all the other state security, because a lot of government places tell this is only for government for high level viewing. You cannot access it. It's impossible that you cannot access information that is your public information. But if there is a clear regulation, and that as outlined in some of our other acts, that there's some information that is about state security that cannot go out, but there's no way that you can tell me the operations of an agency cannot go public. But there are certain things that must be public, and that is where the problem is. We will never move past ensuring that we're able to keep government and public officers accountable if we don't get the access to information law bill passed in this country, so that it can become law, so that journalists can go back to what they were doing best back in the days in investigative journalism, and you are not fearful to ask that question because you are scared to be associated as being anti-Linda or anti-who. And I think that's a problem for me.
All right, with that regard, if you're wondering what this conversation is about, it is about access to information, and we're talking to Linda Bauman from NMT, and she's just giving us just the little nitty-gritties about access to information and where we are going with regard to press freedom. With that, let's quickly close off with, if you had control to the access to information in this country, what would you change? If it was up to you to access information and give the information, if you were in control of those little buttons that people push, what would you change?
I would have had a government centralized system online where you don't have so many agencies having each one controlling their online and communication system. But they're able to feed in a centralized base, because if you go now, recently you've seen it in the press, our websites were hacked. It shouldn't even be like that. There must be a centralized, the Ministry of Information, as the central custodian of information in this country, should be able to have a centralized space where Namibians are able to seek for information, engage and click, but also for them to be able to upload regularly, because what they do is get the hype of launching these platforms, and you make a comment, and your comment nobody ever responds to it. And I think that's where the issue is, because people think having platforms, government thinks that having platforms online and getting them to be alive means that that's enough. No, it needs to be maintained, sustained, mainstreamed, and also intercoordinated in order to build the intersectionalities of the different state agencies, so that people are able to understand when they call for justice for all. Why are we calling the Minister of Gender to resign, and how is she linked to the Ministry of Justice, and also how is the Ministry of Justice linked? Those intersectionalities, so that the young people can know. We want justice, but as much as justice, the Ministry of Gender is key, because when I experience violence, this is my main custodian to create safety for me, as they will link me to the justice system. And as much as I'm on the justice system, where is the general support system that we have in the country? Because there's no shelters.
Yes, most definitely.
So at the end of the day, it is important for me, I'll ask for a centralized database system in this country that we can have access to information. They must also do civic education around access to information, and finally, they must ensure that information is accessible and that we have access to information law.
All right.
As we enter 2020.
Most definitely. Unfortunately, we have to round off our interview, Linda. It was amazing. It's always a blast talking to you. There are a lot of things that are on my mind right now, but unfortunately, time is not our friend right now. We will continue this conversation another time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye, Linda.